Right, so these are a few rules in the beginning. We have a lot of things to talk about because it has been a while since we had our last event. We're going to give you a short update what happened to the newspace Vision Incubator, now it's newspace Vision Lab. What can you do right now also in Corona times to maybe start your own space company. We're going to give you an update about the golden 20s of the new space industry in Germany, a little bit more what's happening, and then we're going to start with presentations. As said, right now we have a presenter from Uri Microgravity in the line, Orbital Machines, and for the discussion round also someone from ESA Aerospace is going to join us, and we're very happy about this. Right now, no one from Rocket Factory Augsburg has came back to us, so they agreed to join the event. Now no one is there. Let's see, maybe they're going to join last second. Otherwise, yeah, we're going to start with the presenters we already have. So before I give the mic over to Daniel, I just wanted to show everyone who is not in the who hasn't been at one of the events what it looks like when it would have been a real event with real people. And this is also what it will look like again once Corona is over. Our last event was already last August. We planned an event earlier this year. We're together with the incubator. Then all this was stretched out, and now here we are. But really, our events are usually happening face-to-face in our LiveVO office in Berlin-Kreuzberg. And next time, all of you are happily invited again.
Yeah, and I think one thing which is now, of course, missing is the great pizza we had last time at our meetup, and also the great drinks, the beer. So that's also, if you are joining us for the first time, typically we are. So last time we've been in the office until 1 a.m. talking to people. It was a really nice evening because we also think that this is a big part of the network we need in the new space industry. So this is also something which cannot happen, of course, today, but I'm really looking forward to the next meetup. What we did at the last meetup was that we announced our new space Vision Incubator. So Sven and I recognized that, especially in the early stage, there is just a funding gap for startups, also to connect them in the new space industry. So we launched our new space incubator, and actually the name New Space Vision Lab we thought is the great thing, because one big part of the New Space Vision Lab is a space garage in Berlin, where we want to help people to build space hardware. Of course, coaching and network is also part of it. But yeah, unfortunately, because of Corona, a lot of events were canceled. So one of those events actually was the ELA. We had a great spot on the innovation stage at the ELA. Also, we had a new space breakfast in our office where we wanted to also show some selection of the startups which registered. And of course, we cannot have a launch event for the incubator. That's why we now made the decision to postpone the start of the New Space Vision Lab to end of 2020. We already got some applications, and also if there's some in the audience, they already know about it, so they will be considered, of course, in this batch. But for you, it's also the chance to apply. So on the website, you can still do this and get a great package of support and network. So we also can now announce a new partner of the New Space Vision Lab, which is pretty interesting, and I'm also excited. So we already had the partner Uri Microgravity, who will also present today, Astrofine from Berlin, BHO Legal. I also seen Frank Baumann is joining us today, German Orbital Systems, and of course LiveVO. But with the Motion Lab, we really have a connection to the hardware community. And we visited a lot of maker spaces in Berlin, and this one is really, really exciting. So they have industrial 3D printers, all the things you need to manufacture hardware. And one coincidence was also that when we visited the Motion Lab for the first time, I met a speaker who's going to be here today from Orbital Machines. So that's really exciting. Another thing is that we also could grow our team of New Space Vision. For example, Andreas Kupke, founder of Finanzcheck and an aerospace engineer, joined us. Sebastian Bartosch, also an aerospace engineer I studied together with, and he's also a coach at Hamburg Innovation, joined us. Jiva, you may know him already, is there since now, I think, 2 years. And Sophie was our first intern at Newspace Vision, is also here. She wrote great article about the German new space age, and also happy to introduce Nina to you. She just made a collection of different space podcasts, which you definitely should have a look at on the website. Yeah, that's also the next thing we want to share with you. So we migrated our website from newspace.vision to newspacevision.com. There will be a lot of content. So not only the podcasts we're going to produce, there are also blog articles and some announcement we are doing.
Exactly. And just one thing I would like to add is that over the past couple of years, it was mostly two people show, Daniel and me. But now we're more people. And if you are interested in doing something, learning a lot about new space, getting in touch with people which are really forming the industry, then we're always happy to welcome more people and really just really to grow this organization and this team. So as said, we migrated to newspacevision.com, and there you can already find 4 articles right now. One industry report, which I'm gonna talk a little bit more about in a second. We have an article about the best space podcasts and information about, for example, the Copernicus Masters. And that's also what I would like to start with is, as maybe some of you know, Daniel and I are also the founders of the Earth observation company LiveEO. LiveEO, in fact, was founded as a project from the Copernicus Masters. So we set out back then still as a wide sense Earth observation. And we started to write an application for this Copernicus Masters. And with this application, we also won the Masters. We got a little bit of prize money, but what we definitely got was also exposure to a network. We got the first proof of our business model. So everyone who considers to start their own software company, their own Earth observation company, or their Earth observation related company, the Copernicus Masters is a great vehicle to start. And you can find all the information under newspacevision.com. Then, as said already by Daniel, we were so lucky to have Sophie for the first 3 months of this year as our great intern. And she supported us with the Newspace Vision Lab. She supported us with a bunch of other things, and she really did an in-depth new space industry research. She compiled an industry report, which you can also find on our webpage and which we are planning to renew every year. And now, since the 2020 started, we thought, well, let's have a look, because 2 years ago, when we had just a few Newspace Vision events, I compiled an article which was called the New Space Landscape in Germany, and it was in fact a graph with a few companies on in a short article. But it's really crazy to see how the industry has developed since then. We're talking about each of the for example, ESA Aerospace, Rocket Factory, or Yuri, they all have been founded within the last few years. Same with LiveEO and so many other companies. And Sophie really compiled this article, which you can also find on newspacevision.com. And I'm gonna share the key insights with you right now. But you can also find an extensive list of nearly or even over 100 space companies in Germany. And if you know of any early stage company or any new space company which is missing in there, just let us know, because then we can put it in there. So the industry report, really the main findings are, and maybe for some of you it's already obvious, now we also have the data to back these feelings. So there are of course clusters in Germany. You really see that new space companies are founded around 4 main cities: Bremen, Munich, Berlin and Darmstadt. Of course, especially with Bremen, Munich, and Darmstadt, you already have a space, an old space economy around which companies really grow, new space companies grow. And especially with these three cities, Bremen, Munich, and Darmstadt, you have seen this. You have already a lot of aerospace engineers, and then you have Berlin, which of course maybe we are a little bit biased towards Berlin, but we believe that Berlin is really a great place for new space because you have this university, TU Berlin, which already has launched so many satellites, and you just have this vibrant, just startup ecosystem right here. So first finding, there are clusters in Germany. Then we have really seen a growing trend over the past couple of years. We have really seen more and more companies being founded, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, with a lot of companies. And now again, a great example of this is, for example, ESA Aerospace just closed their Series A with, I think, 15 million euros, so very, very significant. And there are also other companies like Aurora Tech, which we already had in our events, and so many others, which are just started within the last few years. And there's, of course, also a reason to believe that this growth will continue in the next few years, in the 20s. So the focus right now is really, when it comes to what kind of startups are founded in Germany, the focus is and was on small satellites, such as, for example, Aurora Tech, German Orbital Systems, and so on, or tools for these small satellites. Another component is software, such as LiveEO, Smart Cloud Farming, Okapi Space, the software companies which are closely connected to space hardware. That's another vertical. And a third vertical, of course, maybe not in its quantity, in the number of startups, but definitely in the quality of startups and in the size of startups, which has grown over the past couple of years, is access to space. And that's also why we're doing this meetup right here. We have seen companies such as, for example, Exalaunch here from Berlin, or Yuri, which will present, really facilitating the access to space. So enabling small companies to launch maybe their own experiment to the ISS or their own small set into low Earth orbit. And then on the other end, you have seen companies such as ESA Aerospace, Rocket Factory, Augsburg, or High Impulse, which all want to build small set launchers. And these are just the companies in Germany. And ESA Aerospace said very significant funding round. They closed it just recently, backed by Early Bird, typical software VC, and Airbus. And then you have on the other end, for example, Rocket Factory Augsburg, which has been backed by OHB, one of the the big space companies here in Germany. And then you have High Impulse, backed by IABG. And so these are companies which really want to build their own rocket. But as it looks like right now, we sadly don't have anyone from Rocket Factory Augsburg in here. But I'm sure that Daniel is going to share some information about ESA Aerospace maybe in the discussion round in the end. So right, but also there's some obstacles in the way towards the full fully growing ecosystem here in Germany. You have on the one hand side, there's a lack of funding, or there's some challenges in funding here in Germany, and there's an excess of bureaucracy. Funding, of course, is always a challenge for all startups, but space startups are, it's even more difficult to get funding for hardware. And it won't get better thanks to COVID-19. So startup funding is, of course, more difficult if there's some kind of economical cool down. On the other hand, really the excess of bureaucracy. We can tell you stories about how LiveEO is sometimes wondering how much time is spent on bureaucracy, also from a governmental side. but sometimes it's really hard as a startup to get public funding, or it just takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to get this public funding. And the state very rarely jumps in as a customer of space companies. But there are also signs for hope. For example, the ESA budget is very, very high at 14.5 billion euros, which is really big. And Germany, for the first time, but definitely has surpassed France as the biggest contributor to the ESA budget with 3.3 billion euros. And these are all good signs that the space ecosystem in Europe will grow. So one last thing from my end, if you want to read more about this article, you can find all the data on our webpage as well as the article. Another thing which you can find on our webpage is this great article by Nina, where she talks really about the best space podcasts out there. Also, we at Alivio we at Newspace Vision gonna start to record more podcasts in the future. We will record a podcast with Newspace Hub. In this month, we will have a podcast with Capella Space. We're gonna have a podcast with Spire. We're gonna have a podcast with Astroscale. And if you know someone who you think would be interesting and to hear from, what they can share about Newspace, then please let us know. Or if you think we should record a podcast with you, just let us know.